Unfortunately, people were very distracted by how nice my hair was on last week's episode of This Esports Life, so I didn't get much feedback from you guys on topics and content, the whole reason that we made the show in the first place. But I still came through with some new stuff this week. It's not as rushed as last week, and I think we're actually going to kick it off with a Q&A on episode 7, today's episode of This Esports Life. And I'm gonna kick it off with some questions from Twitter, and I just want to say hey everybody and welcome back from last week. I hope you had a good week. I made some significant changes and kept stuff going from last week, so I'm kind of happy to talk about that. But yeah, let's start off with Twitter and then go into my next events and some stuff that I talked about last week that I've actually gone ahead and done this week, so that we could talk more about it. Well, I did it more for myself, but we can also talk about it. First question is going to be from Kira CS, and he asks, is this game even worth playing competitively to go pro, or is it simply dying soon? This is kind of a somber question because this is something that we get a lot. We get asked a lot as talent in CS. Any personality will earnestly get asked this question: is Counter-Strike dying? Is CSGO dying? And I'd be lying if it didn't cross my mind. As somebody who came from StarCraft, I don't want to be in denial for years, about whether or not the game that I like or I'm playing or I'm involved with or invest myself in is dying, right? I don't want to have to constantly look at the numbers and think and try to rationalize whether or not something's doing well versus how well it should be doing, and if that's healthy and if it's going to last long, if we've peaked, and all of these things. And as much as I want to get to the bottom of whether or not those numbers are accurate, whether or not those numbers matter, I think most things should come back to whether or not you're happy to play the game right now, because I'd say no matter what, there's still going to be many years of CS, no matter what. Do I think it's dying? I don't think it's dying, and I think that I think that because the game's been out for as long as it has, it's only natural that we're at a point where you can't expect that we're gonna have new updates with tons more content, with a bunch of fixes and changes to the game. And I would definitely, and the reason that it has crossed my mind is because I've wondered, well, why aren't there some updates? Why haven't some things changed? There's certainly a lot of things that I can think of that I'd wonder, well, why hasn't this been openly talked about? And I think the reason I go back and forth in my head is just because Valve are very hush-hush about the way that they approach giving feedback and being open. But recently we had, I think it's John McDonald, a Valve dev. Let me actually check his name. Yeah, John McDonald, Bassus Space on Twitter, had done something really nice in answered people's questions on Twitter and tried to give people some insight as to what Valve's thought process is, when Panorama UI is coming out, why certain things take so long, what's going on with matchmaking and stuff like that. And he also said that he felt like CSGO has just hit its stride, and that he felt as though there are many billions of hours of playtime left for the game and for the players in the game. And that was just very nice to hear, even though it wasn't a very substantial comment. It was just good to know that someone's there, And I've always said that the game is very close to perfect. There's very little that needs to actually be changed for CS to be a complete game. Very few bugs are left, as much as those small bugs have a lot of attention. It's mostly because there are so few of them, right? People have a way of making problems out of things. And if there are a lot of problems, well, people just say the game is shit. If there are a few problems, then people will say, why hasn't this been fixed yet? And there are a lot of reasons for why certain things have or haven't been fixed, or why they won't, or why they won't be changed. But at the end of the day, the game is pretty close to almost done. We do not want to have meta shifts every week like you have in Dota. I think the one thing that maybe would be nice to change in CS is the map pool, but that's kind of a different thing. We don't want to have a game where the amount of damage each gun does is different every week, right? Like, it's not like Dota where you want to constantly change, and that game is much harder to balance because the amount of heroes in the game. And so it's just very different. So, they're going to receive much bigger updates for that reason. It certainly feels like, Valve like Dota much more than Counter-Strike, or maybe they've got sunk costs in it because they run TI themselves. I would guess, and I don't want to, I would just be guessing, I guess is the best way to put this, that maybe the devs enjoy playing Dota, just on a very individual basis, and so they like it more or something like that, because it certainly feels like no operation in a long time, no content outside of meta shift type changes or balance changes in a long time, and I don't really know what to say about that. But as long as I know that they're thinking about the game is close to perfect. I think everything's great. And then on top of that, we're having some of the best games and best finals that we've ever seen, and we're having teams like Astralis continue to show us that you can raise the skill ceiling, which is a very important question as well. And I realize that I've gone off on a big tangent. The original question was nerf the CZ, if yes, and if yes, how? And I would say that anybody who understands Rick and Morty that watches Counter-Strike would tell you that the CZ needs to be nerfed. There's not anybody who plays this game or takes it seriously that thinks that the CZ is balanced for the cost, as all guns should be thought of in Counter-Strike. Is it balanced for the cost, right? The CZ is $500. Is it worth $500, or is it worth $1,200? There are many ways that you could balance the CZ or nerf the CZ, and we've already seen some of those attempts at the changes, right? It was too strong to be used as a sidearm with the ops, so they nerfed the amount of time that it takes to pull it out. That was fairly big, but people are still back to it. It's proved to be really good on ecos as opposed to simply a sidearm for the AWP. They nerfed the amount of ammo in the gun. But if the gun is still capable or better than another gun at getting the first kill, or even two in some cases, then it doesn't matter how many bullets you have. As long as one mag or two mags is enough to get those one or two kills. The amount of bullets is never really a big problem, and that's one of the weakest ways that you can actually balance a gun that we've seen. So at this point, it's kind of a Frankenstein weapon where I think the kill reward is low, which nobody really cares about, even though I think it's a more nuanced thing that actually matters, but it doesn't affect how many people buy it, and it doesn't affect how people feel when they get killed by the gun, right? Which is really important, because we're talking about how fun the gun is, how used it is, and how much impact it is. If you get a kill in the kill feed every time you buy a certain weapon, you're going to be incentivized to buy it, apart from anything else, apart from the pull-out time, apart from the mag size, the amount of bullets. What's going to matter most to you is, do you put a kill in the kill feed, right? Do you get a kill on the board? Do you make it a 5v4? Do you make it a 5v3? That's what's going to matter to you. It's what's going to stick out most in your head, and that's what should be thought of the most. I think apart from, I think the fundamental issue with the CZ is that it's an automatic pistol. Vendetta, aka Halver, aka Vendetta. I said this on Twitter, and it was a very good point. Conceptually speaking, the CZ is an automatic $500 weapon. That's really what makes it so strong. And even if you nerf the accuracy to distance like they did, you're still going to hit shots sometimes. And that's the problem with nerfing accuracy, in my opinion. But ultimately, it still gets used as a distance, and it still gets kills, and it looks ridiculous. and it only costs $500, and it shakes up the second round. And there are a lot of players that'll tell you that you cannot guarantee a second round even if you play it out perfectly. There's actually no way. You can play it out optimally considering the circumstances. But I interviewed Stewie at I think it was Dallas, and he said, ultimately there's only so much you can know without showing yourself for information, right? You can try to juggle rotates by throwing grenades, but you can influence those rotations, or you may not know. Ultimately, you have to sacrifice something to get information in the form of a player. And that means that it's really difficult to guarantee an anti-eco. And if somebody's put $10,000 of equipment value into a round, and you've put $25,000 in equipment value in a round, you should win that round pretty much every time. But in reality, this doesn't happen, and even among top teams, because these guys have good aim. And the other thing that goes under the radar about pistols is that they have much higher movement speed than M4s, as well as the ability to be shot more accurately while moving, which is a huge benefit that not even rifles have, right? People refer to it as a pocket AK, but in some ways it's better than an AK. In a lot of ways, it's better than a FAMAS and a Galil, which are $2,000. So I think that what you could do to nerf the CZ is potentially, with pistols in general, reduce the movement speed. But I'm sure that Valve have thought about this. They must have, right? They must have been killed by CZ. They probably don't like getting killed by... No one likes getting killed by CZs. They probably thought about this. I think maybe there is the thought that the game is much more exciting with the high chance of losing a second round. It does kind of feel like throwing two gladiators into the Coliseum, right? And just sitting there and watching them fight to the death. But for the spectator, that's why that works. It's just entertainment. And unfortunately, I think it harms the integrity of the game to balance in favor of entertainment. But there is a legitimate perspective about thinking about how exciting the game is to watch. We always talk about how Counter-Strike is the best spectator esport and how it's so easy for people to understand, and it'll constantly get people going to have every round be as exciting as last, and not just have a pistol round mean 3-0. And we do talk about how the pistol round is too guaranteed. Once you get a pistol round, the 3 rounds are just too guaranteed or whatever. That can be not only boring, but it can, when pistol rounds are already 50-50 in the first place because you're a low utility, you don't have all the guns you want, you don't have head armor. It makes pistol rounds a little bit random, and that means that if a team wins 2 pistol rounds, they have such a high chance to win the game, which means that a huge percentage of the time in a best of 1, a game comes down to if you can win both pistols or not, but not with the CZ. So it's kind of a sick, twisted way to maybe think about why they have left it the way it is, but it almost makes sense. It almost makes sense. But maybe nerf the movement speed, and also damage, I think, is the other one. So movement speed will make you easier to shoot them if they peek you. If you nerf the damage, the person with the CZ will still feel rewarded for hitting their bullets, which is why I'm against nerfing accuracy as opposed to damage. You still feel rewarded for hitting your bullets, which is nice, but you won't actually kill that fast. It'll take more bullets to kill, right? It'll compound onto the fact that you're limited in bullets. Yeah. And if it takes longer to kill, it makes it less frustrating for the guy who has an AK who felt like they just couldn't kill fast enough. It just feels like your fire rate's not high enough to end the fight. So those are the 2 ways I think I would balance a lot of things. One thing I was so impressed by with Fortnite is just how quickly the devs actually introduced the first bullet accuracy update, which resets your first bullet accuracy with all weapons, and you can just simply tap fire at any distance and get damage in. They just nerf damage instead. They just nerf damage heavily, so that even though you can do that, It's not frustrating for anybody. You feel rewarded because you hit your bullets, and the other person isn't taking a billion damage. And the game's different, right? They don't have an economy system, so we can't do that. But their openness to try that was really surprising and impressive, honestly. I think. Oh, actually, my fault. I think I bled into a second question and thought that I went on a giant tangent. So Kira asked, "Is the game even worth playing competitively GoPro, or is it simply dying soon?" I think it is totally worth playing competitively GoPro. There is no game like Counter-Strike. If you want to play Counter-Strike, you've still got many years left. And let's say worst case scenario, it's all going downhill from here. We've peaked and we're just slightly going down. The player base will maintain forever. I guarantee when Blizzard's new FPS that is rumored to be coming out comes out, when Riot's FPS, which is rumored to be coming out, comes out, we'll see a resurgence of CS, and just probably Valve's influence on CS and trying to keep it competitive, because they have said that even though Valve are like a special company that just kind of works on whatever they want to, they still work on what's in the best interest of making the most money and keeping the biggest player bases happy and all of that stuff. They still think about themselves as a business, and I'm sure competition will bring a lot more positive changes to CS, and it'll be very hard for another game to come close to being as good as CS. And if you think about how long this game has been out and how many iterations of this game have lasted and how loyal the player base is, I think we're just fine. Sorry. And then Frederico asked if the nerf to CZ, yes, how, and that's how I answered it. The Nolan K asked me on Twitter, discuss the relationship with current Boxer sub community, and if/how that can influence Twitch/streaming, casting, etc. So I think about this question. Nolan's a sub of mine on Twitch, and he's asking me, what's it like with having a sub community, and it is very different to having a community anywhere else in terms of like a fan that I interact with. My subs on Twitch are very special because I actually hang out with them, play games with them, talk to them, get to know their personal lives. And it's kind of a disconnected relationship to have these comments on YouTube, even though you guys on YouTube make me laugh all the time. I'm sure I would love to know more about you, but it is like this offline recording versus saved comment section under the video. We check on each other every once in a while. On Twitch, it's all live, and on Twitch we hang out in a TeamSpeak and a Mumble. And that's I think that's a very special relationship, and it's really nice to have that kind of like place I can go after a stream or during a stream where I can just hang out and talk to people. I think it keeps me young too, like a lot of my subs are younger than me, and they kind of keep me in the know about things and show me music and everything like that. And I really appreciate all that stuff, because I think for a lot of creators, a big trap is having the feeling that you have a big community, but not ever actually interacting with them. So I think that creates this like dissonance in your mind where you're actually unhappy because you don't have that real human interaction. But I think there's some like feedback loop from having so many fans that you do have people that or can connect with, but you aren't actually doing it. And I think that really is not good for a lot of creators and their mental states. Honestly, they're seeing a lot of that, a lot of issues with that, and it's very important, I think, to have people in real life that you connect and talk to with, and value friendships and your friendships online as well. Because my friendships with people that I have only met online are extremely real as well, and they would only be stronger if I met them in person. That's for sure. But they're still extremely real, and I just think it's important to have all of those relationships and actually have them, as opposed to simply talking into a camera and talking at fans and stuff like that. It's important to talk to people and have friends. So yeah. DreamHack Austin is the next event that I'll be going to. I'm super excited to be going to DreamHack Austin. I we'll be casting with Blue. Last time we casted DreamHack Denver, and it was a hit. It was some of my best casting, and Blue was a guy I cast with in ESL Pro League all season. And I think we have like really good chemistry. He's a great caster, and I appreciate working with him. Never complains about anything, is always on point, and he gives me just enough space that I need for my analysis, and it's really perfect. So afterwards, I'll be casting with Connor as soon as I get to an event with him. But it's always a pleasure to cast with Blue. So I'm definitely looking forward to DreamHack Austin. I'm gonna go super hard on this stream. I was doing commentary prep where I was going over demos from teams that are going to be at DreamHack Austin. And DreamHack Austin is not as prestigious as it once was. The event has less tier 1 talent for how much money is on the line. But there's still some cool storylines going into the event. There's the Optic lineup that has all the new Danes, and the drama with Complexity and Stanislaw, and how he just left Optic, and how Stanislaw put out a tweet longer explaining all of the issues that he had with Optic, and how they would talk shit about him and Shazam in Danish at lunch, and he could only hear their name, and he didn't know what they were saying. And then after he left the team, how Config tweeted out, "Oh my god, like, you guys fucked up picking up Stanislaw because we just ditched him." And now they get to go. They might go head to head. They're not playing in the first round of groups, but they might go head to head on LAN, and that should be really good. Another thing is United, a team who just qualified for ESL Pro League. Congratulations to them. Also almost made LAN on ECS. Unfortunately, because of scheduling, could not actually play their final matches on a reasonable ping. So couldn't qualify for the LAN, but at least retain their spot. Fantastic opening season on ECS. The best opening season for a team that we've seen on ECS. And yeah, I really love that. I think one thing that's going to keep things going is abusing the fact that we have some of the most open and honest people of any game. Confident, open, honest people, right? FPS players are the jocks of esports. I mean, fighting game players are pretty jockey too, but I'd say FPS players compared to the other giant esports like Dota and League, we've got the biggest personalities, right? We've got hardcore motherfuckers either casting, analyzing, or playing, and having their personalities out there and creating these storylines where there's shit talk or transparency. It's just being honest about crazy shit that they've done or talked to, or there's relationship issues that they've had and stuff like that. Hearing about all this stuff it injects a lifeblood into the game that I think is really good. Henry G and Sadokist had that fake beef with Mark Hunt. That shit was so entertaining. They did a great job from the acting perspective, really selling that, and it was fun, so I like this. This is very genuine, and I'm really looking forward to the optical head to head, as well as the potential for both these teams to actually go really far. I think Complexity with Stanislaw and Shazam have the first chance for Complexity in a long ass time for them to be a legitimately good team. So I'm looking for Android to become the player that he was always meant to be, which is a really fantastic rifler. And for everybody on the team, honestly, has a lot of potential. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to this. So best of luck to both Complexity and Optic, and I'm looking forward to casting their games at DreamHack Austin. Last couple of topics here. Played Fortnite last night. Played Fortnite. I've been on the grind. I played 40 days straight of Fortnite, just to try to get good because I really enjoyed the building. And Automatic actually recently bought some boxer tees, and people were linking me clips of him on stream repping the boxer tees, and he DM me and he's like, "Oh man, these shirts are such good quality and stuff." And that stuff makes me so happy. But it was really cool to watch him play Fortnite. He's actually really good, and so I was like, "Yo, let's run some duos, man." All I want is to run duos with Automatic. And so yesterday we played on stream, and a lot of people don't know this, but we kind of have a boxer Fortnite team, and these guys, it's Marowak, Tyrone, formerly Ryan, and I'm with Gorilla. They entered what's called Step One scrims, and I know people are like, well, there's no private servers for Fortnite, so how do they play? They've actually play in Step One scrims, which is like a private Discord where everyone Q snipes, and it's like 40 plus squads try to flood a server and then play, and then they record or screenshot their victories, and then it's they get to practice against teams. And there's like a lower division which our guys, the Boxer guys, actually got out of, and they got into pro scrims. So now they're playing against the likes of FaZe and Complexity and all the real teams, and they're doing really well. Yesterday they actually won 3 out of 6 of their scrims, so that's like insane progress. I mean, people talk about consistency in BR games. They won 3 out of 6 of their professional scrims, 3 W's, like 3 first place finishes. That's really, really sick. And yesterday I got Automatic and Marowak, and we got Cassidy as well, the Cloud9 video editor, super cool guy. And we all squatted up, and then somehow Automatic and Maro are now going to be scrimming together tonight, which is going to be yesterday for you guys, probably on Tim's stream. I'll tweet it out. Hopefully you guys follow me so you can see there. But yeah, Tim's pretty good, and he's gonna play with them, so that should be really cool for them. And I think that's awesome. We don't salary Maro or any of the team, but they requested that because we were like kind of associated with Maro, that they get to represent Boxer, so they have more legitimacy, so they can get more attention. And I'm totally happy with that. And I can't escape being associated with these different games that I like. I always end up finding a player in a game that I like and then like supporting them in some way. And I'm done trying to run from that. I think that's awesome, and I'm glad that like I can help, and I'm glad that it's actually like working, where he's building connections, his stream is growing a bit, he's getting bigger and better, and I think that's great. So yeah, definitely go check out his stream. It's MARR0WAK if you want to watch somebody who has just incredible building, much better than most of the pro streamers who build in this game, and has got a super high win rate, and actually plays pro scrims in the evening, in the afternoon. And shout out to Automatic. Fucking love that guy. It's a great presence in CSGO. Hope he doesn't quit for. Hope he blows all these scrims, and realizes that he's only going to ever be good at CSGO and can't quit or retire or any of that bullshit. I also, and as a closing topic, last week talked about how I went on a hike to the top of Big Bear, and it had me out of breath, and I came back to the bottom of the mountain, felt really good about using my body up, and considered running. Well, I've actually been running every day since then, and which is basically going to be 7 days, and I have to say it's been pretty good. I feel great. I've been doing it every morning. I like dread it, but I also look forward to it at the same time. And after I'm done, I do get that used up feeling that I feel like I've been yearning for to start my days. So I'm enjoying it. I'm only running like straight up. I was running at a like 6 minute a mile pace today for about 3 minutes. So I'm not like long distance running yet, but I'm getting to the point where my lungs are starting to open up. I'm understanding my form and how to get the best strides, and I can actually push myself mentally to go a little bit farther every day. And I ended off feeling great, and for the next few hours I have a lot more life, and I look forward to tackling the day more, and I really like that feeling. So I'm going to try to keep that up. Haven't had any nicotine for a couple or a few weeks now. Not really eating that healthy, but just trying to eat a lot in general so that I can put on weight. But I've been feeling pretty good. I think my mental state's in a good place, and probably honestly maybe right now like better than it's been for years. So it's something you don't even realize until you start to make some positive changes to your body. But after talking with DDK and just like understanding his appreciation for your physical existence, and the fact that this vessel is something that can't be separated from your mind and should be respected and treated well so that you can be happy. And I think having that understanding now has had a big impact on me, and I'm going to try to continue to follow up with these good habits. I've also been reading a little bit more at night, trying to power through this book right now. This is Zen Art of Motorcycle Maintenance. I'm kind of into the self-help self-help genre. I know it's kind of a meme, but when I read a book, everything I do, I want it to have want to make me better at life in some way. That's just kind of how I am. So I don't really care if it's a meme, but this book I think is highly regarded as a book that's not considered self-help, but has that aspect. It's more philosophy than anything else, but it's a series of analogies to motorcycle maintenance and kind of like this road trip that the author is taking, and how he thinks about life at his age. And it's been really interesting, and there's a lot of good vocabulary in there, and it's just well written as well. So I think it helps with my vocabulary, which I'm also trying to improve and just open up. But yeah, not trying to turn into like some kind of fitness freak or anything like that. I just want to do it right, because life is short. I thought the other day, like, if you go a day without exerting yourself because you feel like you shouldn't have to, you feel like you should just be happy, you should just appreciate what you have, you're going to come to a day where you don't feel happy, because this is what life is that it's a constant fight in a good way. It's a constant challenge, and it's because we're all working against time. It's something that takes effort to get the most out of, and that is something that can't be escaped. And I think for a long time I kind of denied that myself to that, and I just figured, if I just think about things in a certain way, I basically don't have to do anything. I can just be what I currently am. But I'm nothing like I was 10 years ago, and I don't want to be anything like I am, well, at least in some ways, 10 years from now. I want to be more, maybe keep the same qualities, but have them become more refined and sharpened, have improved my mastery of certain skills, and in a better place health-wise. All these different things to try to improve, and you can't do that unless you exert yourself and put effort into every day. And I think it is really important to think that life is actually short, and it's not. And to get the most out of one day might mean taking 30 minutes at the beginning of the day to do a few good things for yourself, like meditation, running, something like that, some kind of exercise. And it's like taking 10 minutes out of your day for meditation, which is literally sitting there and trying to clear your mind completely, seems like a waste of time when you could be doing something else, but it might improve 4 hours in a way that you couldn't do without it. So it's kind of an interesting way to think about it, maybe how I'm thinking about it right now. And I'm finding positive results, at least for now, so I'm pretty happy about that. I'm probably going to continue with it, and we'll see how it goes. And this is all to log my journey on the way to becoming as big as I think I should be, and really leaving my impact on the scene and just life and people in general, because that's why I'm doing this. And whether or not I move on to something else in the future, this is my goal right now, and this is what we're going to constantly work towards. And this podcast is where you're going to hear about all my progress. So thank you again for joining me for this esports life. No sponsors. Check out the store at store.boxer.gg. Buy a shirt if you like it, and remember to leave me feedback. And let me know if you guys run, because I know some of you guys are emphatic runners, and I would love to hear more positive things or tips you might have about how to take full advantage of a good morning run and your experiences with it. So thanks very much. Store.boxer.gg, buy a shirt. See you guys next week.